Right, my name is Mr. Robinson. I've recently rekindled my love with reading and books because I've got a young daughter, and some of the books I've been reading with her are the Roald Dahl books, like for example the BFG, because that reminds me a bit of me, Big Friendly Giant. Danny the Champion of the World, however young you are, whatever you want to do, you can achieve anything and solve any problem you want. George is marvellous medicine, brilliant this, because it's really getting her used to the fact that taking medicine is not a bad thing and medicine makes you better and can do amazing things for you, so not to be scared of medicine, doctors and stuff. And my last one, my favourite one, is Matilda. Matilda's amazing on so many levels, some of the characters, the fact this little girl can achieve anything if she puts her mind to it, even against the horrible people that try to put her off and to cause her discomfort and misery, and she just overcomes them all by using her mind. So Matilda's my personal favourite, and I'm really enjoying reading that to baby Ava at the moment.
Hi, I'm Georgie Malik, and the book I enjoyed reading at A-level was George Orwell's 1984, as I felt it was a frightening insight into what could happen in society and the eventual decline and all the possibilities of a dystopian world.
Hi, I'm Kate. The book I've chosen is Twilight. I really like this book because it's gripping. I like the idea of the love triangle, and it always ends on a cliffhanger, so you always want to read more.
Hi, I'm Miss Milnes. I teach Spanish at Titus, so the book I've chosen is The Fault in Our Stars. I read it in one full day because I couldn't put it down. It takes a humorous approach on teenage cancer, and that's why I like it.
Hello, Al McClarty, maths teacher, and this is my favourite book, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Must have read it for the first time when I was about 14, and I've read it many times since. Many reasons why it is my favourite book, but I think the main one is the unforgettable characters that you find in it. Aunt Betsy, Micawber, Steerforth, Tommy Traddles, etc. This particular copy's been with me since 1980. I've just looked at the date on the inside, and it's been on many a flight with me as well, and hopefully I'll read it again in the not too distant future.
Hi, Mr. Body, also in maths. The Great Gatsby's one of my favourite books. Similar to what Mr. McClarty said, I love reading books to read about characters and situation, and Fitzgerald gets some amazing characters in here, and the situation and the places involved are fantastic. You've got to take out any book what you want. Some people like plots and storylines. For me, it's all about characters.
Hello, my name's Mrs. Hill and I teach English in Titus School. My favourite book from when I was a teenager was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. One of the reasons that I really enjoyed that book was because I was studying it at A-level, so I had to read it. But actually once I got into it, I thought the characters were very realistic, and the problems that Jane Austen was writing about really are quite relevant today. And it was really then interesting to be able to see different adaptations of it, to work out which Mr. Darcy I liked the best.
Hi, I'm Mr. Roebuck and I teach in humanities, and the book that I've chosen, although it's not a work of fiction, has inspired a lot of other books. It's inspired plays and films and music and art, and the book that I've chosen is the Bible, which is cheating a little bit because it's a collection of books that were written over hundreds, thousands of years, and they've inspired people in many ways, and it continues to inspire people today. It's also the most read book in the world, although it's not a work of fiction. As I said, it has inspired a lot of people to write fiction and continues to do so today. And everybody should read it at some point in their life.
Hi, I'm Jake Verity and I study English Language in sixth form and I'm in year 13, and my favourite book which I've read is The Lady in the Lake by Raymond Chandler. It's a fantastic book. It's a crime and detective thriller, and it was strongly recommended by all the English staff, especially by Miss Vickery, Mrs. Ida, Miss Martin, and it was really, really good to read. It captured my interest until the end, and it's got a very, very confusing but exciting plot, and I'm sure it's brilliant for you all to get into and start reading.
Hi everyone, this is my favourite book, A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, and it's about the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan. It's about how this impacts on the lives of several women. And so though it sounds like a really morbid book, and in some ways it is, there's some pretty horrific stuff that you find out in it, it's also about love and friendship and how resilient humans are, and I found it a really inspiring book, and I just think it's got everything you need in for a really great story, so go out and read it.
I'm Ella.
I'm Kaya.
And our favourite book is A Kite Runner.
It's a story of friendship between Hassan and Amir, and they're growing up in 1970s Afghanistan.
One of the main themes is redemption and courage.
And we liked the story because it says it's from a 12-year-old's perspective, but then it matures as the author tells the story.
Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Richardson. I want to talk about my favourite book, which is Jane Eyre. It's my favourite book because even though it's Victorian literature, I still think it's really interesting, and all the things that happen to Jane still happen to people now. So having bad relationships or falling in love with people who maybe don't feel the same about you. And it does have a happy ending. And so even though Jane goes through all these terrible things, it all ends okay for her. And I think that's really good because it reminds us that actually if we work hard and we try hard, maybe we will get what we deserve.
When I'm not being cool, I like to read. And one of my favourite books of all time is Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. It's an American classic now, and it tells a story of quite a privileged young man who's at private school and he's a bit naughty and he gets kicked out. And it shows his journey from his school into the city of New York and all the kind of things that he gets up to. I think he's aged about 15, so he's a teenager, and I think it's something that a story that will resonate with a lot of young people. It's an excellent book. I really recommend it. It could probably change your life.
Hi, my favourite thing to read is a series of books by the same author, because that way I feel that by the end of the series of books I'm really in the world that that author painted. And my favourite series of books to read is the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, because at the end of the series, in the last book, I really feel that I'm in Hogwarts with Harry, and I'm part of that world, and it makes me feel really sad when I end the series of books. And I feel like I'd wish I'd never started, so I had that experience all over again.
Hi, I'm Miss Metcalf and I'm an English teacher, and so everybody who's ever been taught by me ever will know that I am an absolute Harry Potter nut. So that's old news. So I'm going to talk about a different book that I really love called All My Friends Are Superheroes by Andrew Kaufman. It's about 60 pages long and it's about a guy who marries a superhero called the Perfectionist. And on their wedding day, her ex, who's like a hypnotherapy guy, hypnotises her to think that he isn't there anymore, and so she's heartbroken. And you start the book where they're on the plane and she's just about to set off and live in a new city, and as soon as the plane goes and touches down, she will make that world perfect, because that's her superpower, and she will forget all about him. So he has the plane journey to make her realise that he's still around and he still loves her.
Right. Hello everyone, my favourite book is Cinderella Man, which is a true story about a failed boxer from the 1930s who he had broken hands, and he just started boxing again with broken hands to try and get some money for his family in the Depression. And it's a story about how he overcame adversity and became world champion. I find it was a very inspiring book. I enjoyed it very much.
Hi everyone, my favourite book is To Kill a Mockingbird. This is the second version of this I've had, but because my first version was used too much because I had it through school like you guys. It was the first book that really got me thinking and made me feel emotional. I've also seen the film, which is a brilliant representation of it, and I think it's travelled really well through time. The second book I haven't read because I love the characters so much in this book that I can't bring myself to read the second book because they're not quite as nice. But really, get reading it. It's one of the best books you'll ever read.
And this one.
Oh, this one.
I'm Mrs. Dewhurst. I teach art and photography at Titus School, and my favourite book is The Time Traveller's Wife. The thing that I really like about it are the characters. I think Claire and Henry are really great characters, but I also like that it's a little bit kind of sci-fi-y. So the structure of the book jumps around quite a lot and you're never quite sure what point in their timeline you're at, because you kind of follow Henry to various different places, which I found to be really interesting when I read it.
Hi, I'm Jack.
And I'm Leo.
When I'm not reading about football, I started reading a book called 1984. Very interesting and detailed, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it.
And I'm reading Lord of the Rings because I watched the film and I really enjoyed it, so I thought I'd read the book, and it keeps me wondering what's going to happen next.
So my name is Mr. State. I teach chemistry, and one of my favourite books is Death and the Penguin by Andrei Kirkov. I really like this book. It's a dark comedy about a man called Victor in Ukraine who lives with his penguin, and he writes for a living, and he gets into trouble with trouble with the mafia. But it's a fantastic book. It's I love the penguin and how it interacts with the really dark story that's going on in the background. So that's what I recommend.
Hello, I'm Mr. Green, and I'm a dyslexic. It's a label I've had ever since I was at primary school, actually, and I remember from my first memories of being at school was being taken into different classrooms and being taught by someone to help improve my reading and writing skills. It's something that I had going all the way through school, and again, people telling me that my writing was untidy. Why can't you write straight? Why are you putting letters the wrong way around? And why can't you spell it correctly? And it was just something that I struggled with all the time, and I had it all the way up when I was at my GCSEs, and one of my main worries was getting grade C's, because I knew how important that was really for my GCSEs. And one thing that happened was I started reading a book, Hobbit, which everyone will know, and I loved it so much that I then moved on to reading all about reading Lord of the Rings, and then carried on reading from that. And I can guarantee that me reading those books definitely helped me to receive my C's at GCSE. And I remember when I get them, it was one of the highlights of my life, was seeing that I got those 2 C's at GCSE, because I knew how important they were, and that was because all the extra reading that I did helped me to understand how to set out paragraphs, sentences, use punctuation, improve my spelling. So it is a really important thing to be able to do, is just take up a book, read it, and it's not geeky. It's something that you can just read before you go to bed. Read a decent book. It's just like watching a little film before you go to bed, but you're reading, and it'll have a massive impact on your school, definitely for your English GCSEs as well.